Hi there, I'm Amanda Castor with Material Girl Quilts. Today we're going to be making the square chain quilt. Now this quilt, as you saw in the photos, it's a large quilt. It finishes at 93 inches square, so it's perfect for a queen size bed. And one of the best things about this quilt is that half of the blocks are actually going to be already made for you because you'll use pre-cut 10-inch squares or layer cakes to create half of the blocks in this quilt. Now the other half of the blocks are these chain blocks, and we're going to be making those today. So let's get started. The first thing you'll have to do to make these blocks, we are going to do these portion of this block by strip piecing. So you'll be cutting, the pattern instruction tells you how many of these strips you need to cut to complete all of the blocks. But to do our first strip set, we will cut two of the 2-inch by width of fabric navy strips and one 4-inch by width of fabric strip, and then you'll sew them together as shown so that the two navy are on the outside. Then once that strip set is complete, you're going to cut this into 2-inch segments all the way across the width of the fabric. So there are a number of rulers you can use to do this. There's a Stripology ruler. I don't have that one. I have an older June Taylor ruler that will cut strips that has, and actually basically it's a ruler that has slits in it where you can slide your rotary cutter to cut evenly spaced strips. But since we are cutting every 2 inches, this ruler right here is 6 inches wide. So what I'll do when I cut my strips is, you're first going to start with cutting off the selvage edge and make a nice straight edge. So we cut that off, and then I will use the full width of my ruler and cut at 6 inches, and then move it over to the 4, and then over to the 2. So that gives you 3 segments from each width of the ruler. So you continue this way across the entire width of this strip piece section, so that you and when you'll make enough of these to make 82 of these that will finish at 2 inches by 7 inches. And then you'll repeat that same process with a larger strip set. Now this one has the same 2-inch by width of fabric navy strips on the outside, but the inside strip is a 7-inch by width of fabric strip. So we will do the same thing. We will create a straight edge and cut off the selvage. And then again, cut 2-inch wide segments. And again, you'll continue along the entire width of that strip to cut a total of, with all of your strip piece segments, you'll cut a total of 82 of those as well. Now to make this block, and I'll take you to the machine in a moment, you're going to need a center navy square and then two 2-inch by 4-inch beige rectangles. Then on the outside of those you will have 2 of your pieced segments here, and then 2 2-inch by 7-inch beige rectangles, and then 2 of your longer segments that we just created that go on the outside. So we're going to take these to the machine and sew this block together now. Okay, so we have all of the pieces needed to create our block, and we're going to start with our center square and these 2 smaller rectangles, and we're going to sew those onto opposite sides of the center square. And I want to make a note that while I'm doing this video, I'm just making one block at a time. But when I created all of these blocks for the quilt, I chain pieced these so that I would sew one rectangle onto the center of all of the blocks at once. So you save some thread, you get it done a little bit faster that way. But just for this video, we'll make one block at a time, and we're going to start by sewing the small rectangles on the outside of the navy square. Also a note, when pressing this block, I always press towards the navy fabric. I'm not going to take this to the ironing board right now. I'm just going to finger press these towards the navy. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to attach the smaller strip piece segments that we created, and we're going to attach these to the center section. And since we press towards the navy, our seams will nest nicely and they should have perfect points. Okay, so now for this next step, I pressed out towards the strips. This time it doesn't necessarily matter which direction you press, but we'll finger press out towards those strips. And now our next step is to sew the 7-inch rectangles to the top and bottom of this center section. Okay, now for this one, we are going to press in towards the block, so towards these navy smaller squares. So we can finger press in that direction. Oops, that one's out. And then we will now sew the final piece segments on the outside of the block. So when I finished these, I pressed out towards the last segments of this block, and then your block is complete. Now once this is all finished, and we should give this a good press, make it nice and flat, this should measure 10 inches square. Okay, now that my block is pressed and nice and flat, it is time to put all of our blocks together. Now as a note, you will need a total of 41 of the chain blocks and a total of 40 of your pre-cut 10-inch squares. So now you will lay these blocks into rows as shown. You'll have 9 rows total of 9 blocks each, and you will alternate between the chain blocks and your pre-cut 10-inch squares. Then you'll sew those blocks into rows and then sew the rows together to complete the center of the quilt top. Now to finish this quilt off, I added a border that's cut at 4 inches wide that matches the navy fabric that's going through the chain blocks. So you will piece your 4-inch by width of fabric strips together to create lengths long enough for the sides and the top and bottom borders. If you would like a PDF of this pattern, please head to my website and click on Material Girl Society. And if you join Material Girl Society, you'll have access to this PDF pattern as well as every new pattern as it's released each month, and a library of the past patterns as well as videos and other great quilting resources. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure you click the like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss any tutorials going forward. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.